Hey, so it's been a while since I have done a longer live stream here, just like a more formal, like less 10-minute on the porch one. But I wanted to pop in and do this, and I do have notes. So, hey, as you guys jump on, say hi and share where you're from, and I will, shout out to you. I do have notes, so if I glance away, I am looking at the notes, so that this is like really comprehensive. So the first thing actually is I want to go back to my roots and embodiment before we even get into this conversation. And if you're here live or on the replay, could you just take like 3 deep breaths and connect to your body? Or even like if you need to take a big stretch and just like, stretch it out. So what's going on with this conversation is that I've been speaking to a lot of you who are desiring to up level, and that up level could be a new romantic partner, that up level could be the next level in business. I'm speaking to a lot of you who are desiring an up level, and that up level could be a new romantic partner, that up level could be, going from 6 figures to multi 6 figures. There's a leap you're looking for, and usually for a lot of you, that leap is actually across multiple areas of your life. So, your life looks really, really good on paper. It's not that. It's that you're looking for more joy with your partner and that income leap. Like, you're looking for that leap or that growth across multiple areas of your life. So it's not like one thing, it's the multidimensional leap. And honestly, this is coming from market research I'm doing. This whole topic is stemming from market research I've been doing with a bunch of you. And there's this fear over holding pleasure, like how good can it get? How much pleasure am I allowed to have? How big can I really be? There's that kind of, oh my gosh, I have the partner, I have the money. Can I hold more pleasure? Can I hold more joy? Can I hold more wealth? Can I hold more love? How good can it really be? And of course, first of all, the answer is yes, you can have more. Of course, yes, that's a given. And there's different ways that people are talking about this and how this happens and how to create this leap, these leaps across multiple areas of your life while you hold more pleasure. But what's missing is that nobody's combining disciplines. Some people are out there talking about sex magic or tantra. Some people are talking about mindset. Some people are talking about the nervous system. And the truth is that all of those tools have a place. It's not like just do the mindset work or just do the sex magic. It's like these things are intersecting and actually fit together. So I am going to glance at my notes right now. So who this is for? This is for you if your life looks great on paper, which is an interesting thing to say, but you have the business set up, you have the money coming in, you probably, but not definitely have the partner, and you're ready for more and ready to expand across multiple areas of your life. And impact is probably a big one for you. Money, sure. Love, sure. Deepened intimacy, sure. But also the question of how much impact do you have? And hello, feel free to pop in your comments here or on the replay. So here's what's going on. Let's define innocent pleasure, because, really all pleasure is innocent. And the idea that, I'm not talking addiction, but like all pleasure, whether or sex or shopping, is innately innocent as long as we're not talking addiction. And for this conversation, we're not. So the first thing is all pleasure is innocent. And it's our culture that teaches us to fear pleasure. Like as little girls, it's like, don't be too big. Don't let your voice get too loud. Don't have too much fun. You'll freak someone out. So the first thing is all pleasure is innocent. But for the purposes of this conversation, I am specifically speaking to the pleasure of dancing, the pleasure of play, the pleasure of like playing a game with your kids or even as an adult, like with your friends. The pleasure of trying on a beautiful new dress. I'm speaking to all of those types of pleasure. And yes, I'm even speaking to sexual intimacy and sexual pleasure. So these are all innocent pleasures. And for this conversation, they're all somehow related to embodiment and embodiment based. So that's our definition of that. There's a school of thought about sex magic and using orgasm to create quantum leaps. And that's not bad or wrong, but here's the thing. It's like when you do sex magic, it's like you're putting a key in the car to start the car, but it's not the gas that keeps the car running. So sure, you can create a massive uplevel fast with sex magic, but it's not going to be the same thing that sustains you for the long haul. You know, I've done it. I've created like 5 figures in like 3 days with sex magic. You can do it, but it's not going to be the same fuel that keeps your up level going, that, you know, keeps your 50K launch and then gives you another 50K launch after it, that takes your good marriage and turns it great, and so on. So it's not going to be the thing that keeps your momentum going. With sex magic, in essence, you're always like going to be restarting that car, the car being your up level. So let's explore like what's going on under the hood. Under the hood. Now that I said a car metaphor, let's talk about under the hood. That's a good one. So there's a couple of reasons why sex magic doesn't sustain things. The first thing is, if you're running a business, you also need business strategy, which is a real thing. It's like the masculine container. And that's not what this live stream is about at all. It's really not what I teach. But obviously, you need a strategy, whether that's relationship strategy or business strategy. But besides those pieces, what you and I do work on together, what is relevant to this work, is that to keep your up level going in terms of pleasure and play, innocent pleasure, innocent play, and it's all innocent really, is that you also need to rewire your nervous system to receive more and to be able to hold more. And for a lot of you, especially if you've had to be like a fighter or a survivor or work through hardship in the past, which is not where you're at now, there's also a relational aspect where it's required that you're witnessed in this up level and having it reinforced again and again that it's a good thing. So those are the 2 other pieces. Like, you could jumpstart it with sex magic. You're always going to need strategy, always. But under the hood is rewiring your nervous system, and we'll talk more about that. And a relational aspect that, yes, you can receive in mentorship. That's also going to be required so that your up level stays. So it's not like you have a 50K launch and then wind up in bed, so that you can keep doing it again and again and stay at those heights, or take like the success you have with money and then transform it into more intimacy and love as well. Okay, I'm going back to my notes here. Questions are totally welcome on here, so pop them in. Questions are also totally welcome on the replay. So let's talk about rewiring your nervous system. What does that practically look like? It's not in my notes, but you know, we'll go into that. Think of your body like a container where you have a certain ability to receive. And that ability to receive is based both on what you've received before, like what you're used to receiving. Like if you're at 100K, what you're used to receiving is different than if you're at 300K. If you're single, emotionally, what you're used to receiving, you know, might be different than what you're used to receiving if you're in an amazing marriage. So you have a container about what you are used to receive, whether that's money, love, sex, anything. And what we want to do when we rewire your nervous system is simply to grow the container. And I can tell you how, but that's like a super long conversation. So if you want to know how I can do that with you, pop something in the comments or send me a DM and we'll talk about the how. It's not a secret, it's just too much for this. So you're going to need to grow the container of the nervous system. And yeah, this is what I do in mentorship, and you can ask me about that. And then the other thing under the hood or behind the scenes is the relational aspect, where you get witnessed in, yes, love, pleasure is good. You having this thing is good, and I'm so proud of you, and you get to have the next thing too, right? Yay, you had this big launch and you get to have another, or your business is doing great and you get to have the love too. I will pop in a note about the relational aspect of this, which again is like not a DIY, it's a you and I conversation. It's like as children, we're all trained to believe what we're allowed to have versus what we're not allowed to have. And, that stems from childhood. Like, quick personal example. I was allowed to play and have fun playing, but if I got too excited about like a project I was doing, like my mother would shut me down. And that's a relational thing. Like, yes, you can play, but you can't get too excited about your dreams. So the relational aspect needs to be reworked as well for you to maintain these up levels and to really enjoy them and, to not crash. This is not in my notes, but I want to mention it. When I said the hidden feminine in the title, I haven't gotten into that yet. In a way, that's really the part of us that is vulnerable. And I don't mean passive or reliant on being rescued. That's not the hidden feminine. That's something else. I mean the part of us that's like tender and open and vulnerable. And like, yes, I really want to be emotionally raw right now and to be loved in my rawness. That's the hidden feminine. Yes, I want to be raw right now and to be loved in my rawness. Or, look, I just had this huge leap. Can you love me in this leap? It's that softness and its vulnerability. And that also ties into what some of us didn't get as children and what's required to rewire this whole process, having that hidden feminine honored. And yes, you can do some of this on your own with pleasure and the innocent pleasure I spoke about. It's just that that's a part of the equation and not the whole thing. Okay, I am going back to the notes. I see bunches of you here, so feel free to say hi, or if this is too personal, send me a direct message after. So for a lot of you to up-level and cement it in, I'm not talking about having a launch and winding up in bed. I'm talking about your next level in business and having it be fun while deepening your relationship across the board up-level. The equation is allowing the innocent pleasures plus rewiring your nervous system plus the relational aspect that I mentioned. And all of this expands your container to receive and to stay there. And of course, you have business strategy. You're just going to keep doing that. And if you need relationship strategy, you and I can do that, or you might already have that. Okay, and as I mentioned before, sex magic is real. It's just when the gurus are like, I had an orgasm and manifested 6 figures out of thin air. Okay, great, but what happened after that? You're not getting the whole story. What happened after they had that orgasm and manifested 17 figures out of thin air? You understand? It's just not the fuel that will make this fully sustainable. It's like the cherry on top, or the tool to add on top of the other tools. So there's a note here that I have, and I was going to share part of my story with this, but there's a note here I want to have about shame and how as women we are shamed for having too much pleasure. I mean, you can take this back to like the Bible and sex, but modern day, women with those of us with like massive professional success or